WURD Radio on Demand, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD. Streaming live at wordradio.com.
Joining us now, Ernest Stuart, Program Director of Jazz at Mid-Atlantic Arts. April, of course, is Jazz Appreciation Month in Philadelphia. Got a lot of performances happening throughout the city. Ernest Stuart, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So, April, of course, Jazz Appreciation Month. So what do we got coming up in Philly?
So first of all, I want to say that, Philly is an incredible jazz city, and it has an incredible jazz heritage created by a lot of incredible Black minds and musicians. Mm-hmm. So it's just illuminating the heritage that's there. Daily, jazz is happening all around Philadelphia. All we're doing is trying to shine a spotlight on what's been happening in Philly. Mm-hmm. So there's tons of stuff happening. We have a kickoff event for Jazz Month on Wednesday, April 2nd. Right after that, Warren Evans, incredible pianist, is going to be at Chris's Jazz Cafe celebrating his birthday. There's things happening all throughout the week. There's a Germantown Jazz Festival happening later in the month. It's going to be an incredible month of performances. So
tell us about the jazz heritage of Philadelphia and our role in, jazz as an art form, a uniquely American art form at that.
Yeah, of course. Some of the greatest architects of the music have come from Philadelphia.
Okay.
And has created this incredible American export called jazz. And, Philadelphia at times celebrates it. But I think, there's a lot more we could be doing to recognize these people in our own city's heritage, creating this important art form. Mm-hmm. You have McCoy Tyner.
Yeah.
Coltrane lived here. Dizzy Gillespie lived here. Mm. The Heath brothers. One of which was a Tuskegee Airman. It is
wow.
Like just this hero. I know. It's just some really amazing people from Philadelphia, who have been able to and contribute to this thing called jazz that has changed the world.
Well, it's a beautiful thing. And, to have that history here, one of the things that I learned in going to the Marian Anderson Museum is that she hosted a lot of artists here in Philadelphia because they couldn't stay in hotels. Sure. And so she would host them at her home, and they would have these parties and have these discussions. And, it was a place where you had these artists really supporting each other and each other's art.
Yeah. And, fortunately, I came up in Philly at a time, as a musician myself. Mm-hmm. I came up at a time where I felt a lot of support from other older musicians who, passed down some life lessons to me that I still carry with me and think about often today. Yeah. There used to be a place called Ortlieb's Jazz House.
Yeah, I remember Ortlieb's Jazz House.
Man, I spent so much time there. Mm-hmm. I would end all of my days at Ortlieb's. But back then, you can walk around with your instrument and find all sorts of different places to play nightly without having to plan. Just go out with your horn and play. Wow. Find these places. But then at the end of every night, I would end up at Ortlieb's. And, it was an incredible time.
So you had Ortlieb's Jazz House, and of course you had Zanzibar Blue too, with the vinyls.
Zanzibar. Yeah, of course. Zanzibar was a very important place. I remember a friend of mine, another horn player, we played this is back when we were in college. We played a show at Zanzibar with Jaguar Wright. It was like two nights of playing with her, and we thought that we made it.
Yeah.
It was to us playing a Friday or a Saturday night at Zanzibar with Jaguar Wright. We thought we made it. You couldn't tell us anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so, you've got these venues and these opportunities around Philadelphia and this tremendous music culture and scene. Where are we with the jazz scene in Philadelphia now?
So the jazz scene is resurgent, and it's strong because there's just too many people who care about it. But I think what I would like to see is the broader consciousness in Philadelphia to recognize our incredible jazz history, but also participate, go out and see a show.
Yeah.
It's happening all across the city. I'm sure not too far away from everyone. There's something happening, that would be worth checking out.
Yeah, I remember they had a jazz festival on Lancaster Avenue. That would happen. The Lancaster Avenue Jazz Arts Festival, and it's coming back this year too, in July. Yeah. And so, you have these things. When we had the thing up in my neck of the woods, Uptown, we would have a festival on Ogontz Avenue. Yep, the
Ogontz Jazz Festival.
Right. And then you would have one on Cecil B. Moore Avenue that they would have. And so, I mean, just lots of, different stuff popping up all around the city. Great to hear that these things are happening in April. Please, again, give us a couple of those events that are coming up and then where we can get more information about it.
Of course. So, like I mentioned, there's a kickoff event at City Hall on April 2nd, Wednesday, April 2nd.
Okay.
And I believe that's 5 to 7. Mm-hmm. But right after that, there's a show at Chris's Jazz Cafe featuring Orrin Evans. It's his 50th birthday celebration. Orrin is an incredible pianist. Okay. Lives in Philly as well. Mm-hmm. Some really great musicians are going to be there. Later on in the month, there's going to be the Germantown Jazz Festival, which again, it'll span a couple of days and feature some great talented individuals. Terrell Stafford, another longtime Philadelphian, the guy who runs the jazz department at Temple, is going to be playing at a venue called Not So Latin, which is a person who basically transformed their house in South Philly into a venue. And it's one of the most unique places in Philly to check out a show.
Okay.
That's on the 18th. There's a ton of things happening. I would direct everyone to phillyjazzmonth.com.
Okay. All right. Well, we're going to check that out. phillyjazzmonth.com. And we are certainly looking to a great month of jazz in April. Ernest, I want to thank you so much for joining us this morning on WURD.
You've been listening to WURD Radio On Demand. Listen live at 96.1 FM, 900 AM, and online at WURDradio.com.